It's been 10 years since Rwanda banned plastic bags, and many other African countries are now following their example. Today's show features several inspirational role models like them. My name is Sharon Momanyi from Nairobi, Kenya, and with me is my colleague from Nigeria, Neota.
Hi, and thank you, Sharon. Another day to show you some ideas for protecting the environment in our latest edition of Encode Africa, brought to you by Channels TV, Deutsche Welle, and KTN. Here's what's coming up on the show. It's green, it's clean, and it reaches places others can't. A solar power box that provides power for an entire village. They are under threat as the coral reefs, not only in Kenya. Well, we go there to see how the locals are doing something about it.
There are a lot of environmental activists out there all around the world, and many don't receive as much appreciation as they should. One man in Nigeria has dedicated his life to a healthier environment. He's one of the founders of the Environmental Rights Action, an NGO that fought, for example, against the damage wrought by the oil industry. Nimo Bassey was named one of Time magazine's Heroes of the Environment a number of years back. Neota Egbe went to meet him in Benin City.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
You've been into environmental activism for a long time. How long has that been?
Well, I would say for decades, close to 3 decades. Okay. And this has been because we're fighting for the basic human rights of not just the people, but every other being that is living.
Why does it look as if nobody's listening?
It's an area that we take for granted. People just believe that the environment takes care of itself. You would have heard, for example, the saying that death would not kill an African, which of course is total falsehood. So people think that nature takes care of itself, but nature does take care of itself. Nature can do without us. But the essence of struggling for environmental justice is to ensure that humans have a suitable environment in which we can live and grow. But of course, we still have pollution, degradation, because of human and corporate greed. This is a major cause. That is why, as we campaign for environmental justice, for citizens to do what they need to do to protect the environment, we're also campaigning for governments to come from under the thumb of corporations.
How is that working out? Because we have a government talking about giving permission to some organization to bring genetically modified maize, and for a time they say it's a good one. And one wonders, how good is that?
We are here with Nigeria has become a dumping ground. Whatever application goes to that agency is approved. I'm yet to see anyone that they denied. And they don't even pay attention to public objections, because my organization and some other groups we work with, up to 87 other groups that we work with, we send objections consistently. And they will acknowledge the receipt of the objection today, and tomorrow they issue the permits.
So what would you say is the way to go as regards genetically modified organisms?
Genetic engineering for food is totally unnecessary. What will preserve our food security, our food sovereignty, is the protection of our species. We need to ensure that we have a biodiversity. Where you bring genetic engineering, you are destroying the basis of our biodiversity, because you are planting a crop, you're killing everything else. This washes off into the sea, you are destroying marine ecosystems. So we are really opening up ourselves to a situation where we will regret in the future. So before it's too late, Nigeria has to have a stronger Biosafety Management Act.
Finally, sir, what would you say to the younger generation coming up, the children? They are very innovative. They are coming up with wonderful ideas. What would you say?
So young people need to understand that the challenges to our environment is colonial, and it's neo-colonial, and it's following the capitalist neoliberal ideologies of this world. And that if they don't switch away from this kind of thinking, they don't have any future to look forward to.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now let's get over to Germany. Can you imagine an entire solar power station in a single box? Thorsten Schreiber could, and he designed one. His solar container can provide clean, sustainable power for a whole village. The German engineer has already delivered units to Mali and Niger and is about to send the next one to Somalia. The project is financed by crowdfunding. Torsten's dream is a network of such stations all over Africa. Let's have a look at where the solar containers are made in Germany.
Hamza Muhammad still has many questions. His German boss is having a container made that will later be sent to Muhammad's native Somaliland. This is the basic framework. Solar panels will be added later. It's designed as a mini solar power plant that's able to supply an entire village with power.
We're seeking to work together as equals, to set up a company in the country that will operate there long term. This isn't like conventional aid work, where people come from industrialized nations and invest millions, but 5 years later they're gone. We've purposely set up a company to work together as equals and achieve a long-term benefit.
The first solar containers are already operating in Mali, in villages that aren't connected to the power grid. The German company sells the clean energy for 50 eurocents per kilowatt hour. They have a team of engineers based locally to ensure the power station works reliably for the coming decades.
The steel frame is designed to last for 30 years. The photovoltaic modules also have a lifespan of 30 years. The inverters and batteries will need replacing earlier for technical reasons, but we've made allowances for that. We'll replace those as necessary. We plan to partner with these regions for at least 15 years.
The container for Somaliland is to be set up in a village near the Ethiopian border. There it will replace an aging diesel generator. Local residents know the generator poses a health hazard. It will also help them to save money, so they welcome the initiative.
The problem in Somaliland is that we have some of the highest energy prices in the world. And so because people can't pay those prices, because diesel is hugely expensive, they can't have power in their homes, and that also rules out many money-making enterprises. So if we can provide clean power for half the price, people will now be in a position to change their occupation.
Like this village in Mali, where soon the miller won't need a diesel generator to grind flour. And the local tailor won't have to use coal to heat his iron. And these women who produce clay pots will be able to work in the evening when it's cooler. Power-driven machinery will also mean they can work much faster. The solar container can be set up in many parts of Africa. Its walls are 3 times as thick as those of a conventional shipping container. This allows the mini power plant to survive the often long and difficult transit routes unscathed. The German company has had to learn by trial and error.
The first few times we delivered a container, we discovered that there was a lot of damage caused during transit. Cracks in the material, or even pieces that had broken off. So that's why we changed the design. It might look a bit oversized now, but it ensures the unit arrives in one piece and operates well.
Installing the solar container is relatively easy. There's no need for complicated technical equipment or construction cranes. One solar container costs around 175,000 euros, including delivery. That would be a lot of money for most African villages. So Torsten Schreiber takes care of the financing, collecting money from charities and ecological funds that are keen to promote sustainable projects. He already has several million euros in hand to build new solar containers. 10 more of them are planned for Mali alone.
We encountered a lot of skepticism at the start. Many wondered about the technology and whether these plants would work okay in very hot regions. Once the income starts to come in regularly, I'm very confident investors will trust us a lot more than they currently do.
Last November, the first solar container was set up in Niger. Currently, the company has funding for 50 more.